The film opens with a scientist explaining the altered behavior of ants after a spectacular and mysterious cosmic event on Earth's surface. He also talks about an entomologist named Dr. Hubbs, who uncovered an ant species engaging in unusual behaviors such as meetings, communication, and what seems to be decision-making. We then see a green-colored ant entering a colony and poisoning the queen ant. Before long, the colony's ants, under the command of the queen ant, get increasingly aggressive, triggering internal conflict and mass killings. Suddenly, the black ants start attacking their natural predators, including mantises, beetles, millipedes, and spiders, causing a surge in the ant population. The scene then cuts to Dr. Hubbs and his associate James, an information specialist skilled in cryptology. The duo are seen driving through the Arizona desert and soon pull over at an abandoned town. They are here to set up a research observation station for their study. As they investigate the area, they come across a few pillars with identical gaps on their tops. Dr. Hubbs takes pictures of the pillars, unaware that the ants are keeping their eyes on them from the gaps. Their many, many eyes. Their exploration leads them to a farm, where they discover a dead body of a sheep with a small hole in its body. It appears as if it has been penetrated and eaten by ants. Dr. Hubbs explains that the equatorial ants typically attack anything that affects their food supply, and that their behavior is triggered by specific smells. Not long after, they meet a farmhouse owner named Mr. Eldridge and his family, who are preparing to use gasoline-filled ditches to incinerate the ants. Dr. Hubbs advises Mr. Eldridge to evacuate the area for safety, and also hands him an evacuation notice. As they depart, they see Mr. Eldridge's granddaughter, Kendra, returning home after a horse ride. In the next scene, Dr. Hubbs and James successfully set up a computerized lab in a sealed dome within a short distance from the pillars. 12 days pass by, but they still lack information about the ant colony. They receive numerous calls from their base, mentioning that they can't stay there longer and urging them to collect the data as soon as possible. In order to initiate the ant activity, they finally decide to knock down the pillars and record the ants' actions. During the night, the ants invade Mr. Eldridge's farm and attack their pet horse. Despite the frantic efforts of the Eldridge family to save the animals, their efforts prove futile. With no other choice, Mr. Eldridge is forced to shoot the horse. Following this, one of the family members sets ablaze a ditch filled with gasoline in an attempt to keep the ants at bay. But it turns out to be too late, as the ants have already crawled onto the roof of their house and started destroying it. As a result, the family is compelled to abandon their place and drive away in their vehicle. At the research station, James explains to Dr. Hubbs his approach for deciphering ant communication. He says that he records the signals emitted by the ants and then correlates these signals with their actions. On the other hand, the Eldridge family regrets ignoring the evacuation notice. They believe that the disaster could have been avoided. Shortly after, Mrs. Eldridge notices an ant on her husband's hair, as well as in their vehicle. In a state of panic, she attempts to brush it away. This momentary distraction results in Mr. Eldridge losing control of the vehicle, because of course he does, leading to an accident, because of course it does. After this, the family abandons their vehicle and heads toward the research station to seek help. Moments later, the ants tamper with the vehicle's engine, causing it to explode and resulting in a power outage at the station. Suspecting the presence of the ants, Dr. Hubbs sprays poison around the station, inadvertently affecting the Eldridge family as well. The following morning, Dr. Hubbs and James step outside the station in their protective suits, only to discover Mr. and Mrs. Eldridge lying unconscious on the ground. James expresses his sorrow at their tragic demise, but Dr. Hubbs doesn't seem to care. His attention is solely fixated on how the ants exploded the car. We're all wondering that. At James's insistence, Dr. Hubbs examines a deceased body and discovers that the ants have created a hole in the palm, from which they are now crawling out. While collecting ant specimens for their study, they realize that Kendra is still alive. She got that thick plot armor. However, upon seeing her entire family dead, Kendra passes out, prompting the two men to carry her inside the station. Later, the two are discussing how to study the ants when James's attention gets diverted by Kendra in an attempt to ensure her safety. He suggests calling a rescue helicopter, but Dr. Hubbs fears that such an action would jeopardize their mission. Just then, Kendra enters the room and introduces herself. Upon spotting an ant in a test tube, she realizes how it killed her horse and her entire family family. This fuels her with anger, prompting her to smash the container. Great idea, Kendra. Set them free. That'll show them. Reacting quickly, James grabs Kendra and takes her out of the room, while Dr. Hubbs proceeds to disinfect the room by eliminating all the ants inside. Unfortunately, Dr. Hubbs gets bitten by an ant in this process. Meanwhile, at the ant colony, black ants are passing a yellow poison among themselves. Those who come into contact with the poison meet an immediate death, yet they willingly sacrifice themselves to make it to the queen. Upon ingesting the poison, the queen gains immunity, after which she lays a yellow egg. And thus, the Simpsons were born. The following day, the base contacts Dr. Hubbs, inquiring about the progress and whether they've encountered any civilians. Dr. Hubbs opts to lie and denies any contact with civilians. In the meantime, James continues decoding the ant language from the tape recordings. When Dr. Hubbs approaches him, James expresses his optimism that he'll soon be able to communicate with the ants. He shows the doctor a visualized signal of the ants, despite having no idea what it means. Apart from this, James asks about Kendra's rescue, to which Dr. Hubbs falsely assures him that she'll soon be rescued by a helicopter. In the next morning, James has a brief chit-chat with Kendra, during which he learns that she has no relatives left. Out of empathy, he offers her breakfast and escorts her to the food storage area. When Kendra inquires about their purpose, James explains that they're here for research. Shortly after, Dr. Hubbs summons James and unveils a startling discovery. The pillars are reflecting the sun's heat back to the station, causing the station's inner temperature to rise. Within just an hour and a half, the temperature rises by 5 degrees. In the midst of this, Dr. Hubbs also reveals that the queen ant has ingested the poison, resulting in the birth of weaver ants that are now resistant to the poison. James then raises his concerns about leaving their vehicle outside, but Dr. Hubbs clarifies that it's intentionally placed there as a lure. This revelation startles James, as he had believed that their mission was centered on research, rather than engaging in a life-threatening war. Following this, James questions Dr. Hubbs about the anticipated helicopter, but the latter dismisses his concerns and reminds him of their primary goal. Hearing this, James decides to contact the base to request a helicopter, not only for Kendra, but also for himself. However, as he attempts to make the call, the ants damage their phone, preventing any contact with the base. At the same time, James notices that Dr. Hubbs's hand has swollen due to the prior ant bite. In order to cope with the rising temperature, Dr. Hubbs makes adjustments to the air conditioning system. It appears that the humans can endure temperatures of up to 120 degrees, while the computer system will shut down at 90. After a while of deliberation, James devises a plan to use a high-frequency sound wave to dismantle the pillars. In agreement, they emit the powerful sound wave, which results in the shattering of glass objects within the station and the subsequent collapse of the pillars, one after another. Now the sun can't reach them. Meanwhile, a black ant attempts to gnaw through a wire in a corner of the air conditioner. However, it soon falls victim to a mantis, all of which is witnessed by a green ant. In retaliation, the green ant bites the mantis, and this commotion causes an electrical circuit disturbance within the station. As a result, the air conditioner stops functioning, raising the station's temperature and leading to the abrupt shutdown of all computers and electronic devices. Amidst this, Dr. Hubbs tries to talk about his hand pain, but James disregards him and solely focuses on cooling down the station. After some time, he investigates the main power supply in the station and figures out the reason for the power outage. He is astonished to learn that the ants have precisely targeted the machine supporting the entire station's system. The sound waves released by James have exterminated a significant number of weaver ants within the pillars. We then see the black ants systematically arranging the deceased weaver ants, almost as if they are preparing for vengeance. As the night falls, the station's temperature also drops below 90 degrees, allowing the systems to restart. James uses this opportunity to send some signals to the ants. Soon after, Dr. Hubbs joins him and tries to understand the message James is conveying to the ants. However, there is only a square on the paper. When asked, James explains that mathematics is a universal language among intelligent creatures, and he hopes it serves as an effective means of communication. He hopes that the ants know that he's trying to say square. In the meantime, Kendra is asleep when a green ant climbs onto her body and stares at her. She quickly notices its presence and whispers at it to go away. Surprisingly, the ant complies and leaves without causing her any harm. As it leaves, it whispers back,
That ass though.
The next day, as the sun rises, the pillars once again reflect heat toward the station, greatly elevating its temperature. This causes Dr. Hubbs to feel unwell, but despite this, he refuses to accept Kendra's help. While passing some mean remarks to her, Dr. Hubbs notices a green ant on the shelf and hurries to crush it. The ant manages to escape to safety, but Dr. Hubbs, in his frustration, vows to kill it at any cost. Frightened, Kendra hurries to summon James, and by the time he arrives, Dr. Hubbs has already killed the ant after causing chaos in the room. Later at night, Dr. Hubbs reflects on his actions throughout the day and apologizes to James for the trouble he caused. He then proceeds to explain to James about ant colonies and how they follow the discipline set by the queen ant. He thinks that they must kill the queen ant so that they can escape. However, James advises him to stay calm, acknowledging that they are powerless against the smart ants. He says that their only hope is to await a response from the ants in the morning. Just then, Kendra screams upon seeing a rat on the monitor. The duo quickly rush towards her, and they're horrified to witness a distressing sight: the ants killing and devouring the rat in no time. Was that really such a surprise? A short while later, the ants send a response: a circle within a square, with a small dot enclosed within the circle. It is clear the ants are saying, "titties." Initially, James is baffled by the message, because he's a scientist and he's never seen any. However, after studying it for some time, he deduces that the entire ordeal is a controlled experiment, in which they are the subjects. The experiment aims to determine the smartest and the strongest among them, but James still can't figure out the meaning of the circle and the small dot. He then assumes that the ants are looking for someone, possibly the one who harmed them. Hearing this, Kendra recalls her attempt to kill the ants earlier and becomes scared. Shortly after, Dr. Hubbs calls James and reveals that he has located the queen. Later in the evening, Kendra ventures outside the station barefoot, singing to herself. Before long, the ants emerge from the ground and bite her feet, causing her to cry out in pain. Back at the station, James continues his efforts to communicate with the ants through drawings, while Dr. Hubbs is determined to kill the queen and free them. James suggests that they stay inside, but Dr. Hubbs, overcome by frustration, crumples the message paper and insists on confronting the ants. Right then, James realizes that the dot within the circle actually represents Dr. Hubbs. At the same time, James discovers a message from Kendra and learns that she has sacrificed herself to free Dr. Hubbs and James. But by that time, Dr. Hubbs has already left the station barefoot. James hurriedly chases after in an attempt to stop him, but it's too late as Dr. Hubbs falls into a deep pit. A multitude of ants swarm and kill him instantly. In the aftermath of this tragic event, James dons his protective suit and sets out to the hive with a canister of insecticide. He wants to kill the queen now. Deep down, James harbors a hope that ants and humans might find a way to coexist, even though he acknowledges the impossibility at this point. Through his studies, James has gained insights into the ants' expansion rate, organizational power, network and communication methods, poison, and genetic adaptability. As a result, he is convinced that the ants will always stay one step ahead, possibly posing an imminent threat to the countryside and towns. The only option, as suggested by Dr. Hubbs, is to kill the queen. Finally, James locates the queen's hive and releases a tank of poison before descending into it. There, he witnesses a hand emerging from the soil. It's Kendra, who miraculously remains unharmed by the ants. The two share an embrace, and in this moment, James realizes that the ants' actual plan is to adapt to the human race and make them a part of their world. In a voiceover, James states that he and Kendra do not know what plans the ants may have, but they are awaiting instructions.
Show us the titties. Show us that ass.
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.